Hello you guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing one of my favorite things to do, which is ranking things. And today I'm going to be ranking a brand that I have really fallen in love with over the past year and have accumulated a lot of palettes from, and a brand that I swore I would never buy from because it was way too expensive. And if you can tell already by the title, we're ranking my Natasha Denona palettes that I own. So I have quite a collection now, and I've amassed most of these like in a fairly quick succession. So yeah, I mean, I've used all of them multiple times, so I do have a pretty good idea of how I'm going to rank them. Some are I've used less than others, which might factor into likability, but the way I'm ranking them is based on how much I've used them, how much I enjoyed them, formula obviously, and just overall how much I like it. Basically, just obviously this is my opinion. So if you like videos like this, definitely hit the like button down below by the end of the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this. And of course, let me know your favorite Natasha Denona palette. Now, oh, sorry. You know how you get the little scratchy feeling in the throat? Okay, let me know your favorite Natasha Denona palette down in the comment section. So I'm going to start from least favorite to most favorite. Let's go ahead and get into the list. Alright you guys, like I said, I'm going to be starting from the bottom, and so I have how many palettes? Let me count first because I don't have all the Natasha Denona palettes that came out. Like I said, I haven't been buying from the brand for that long. I mean, it's been maybe 2 years. Maybe, I don't know, since I bought my first Natasha Denona palette. I started with the mini palettes because they were the least expensive. I was really against paying $129 for a full palette, and I don't think I have paid that much for any of the palettes. I think I've gotten all of these on sale, and I have a mixture of her minis, 5 pans, the larger ones, and the midi size. So I'll tell you guys when I get to each one what they are. But let me count how many I have in total, and then we'll get right into the, ranking. Alright, you guys, so in total, I have 9 Natasha Denona palettes. Let's go ahead and get into the ones that are kind of towards the bottom. Not because they're not good. I actually will preface this by saying I like all of these palettes. Honestly, I do really like all of these palettes. It's just I like some better than others. And so coming in at number 9 is this one. This is the Natasha Denona Jubilee palette. It's a very it reminds me of Easter, and I think this is around when it came out. It actually was in a BoxyCharm. So Natasha Denona does pop up in BoxyCharm occasionally, and I do have a BoxyCharm subscription, which I do really enjoy. And well, most months I enjoy. And when I got this one, I was super excited about this because it's Natasha Denona. You know, you didn't have to pay the full, usually this size. This is her 5 pan, and it's the bigger 5 pans, so it's not the minis. These are usually like $48, and so not paying that price for this was really great. The formula in here I think is nice, and the colors are pretty nice, but I actually figured out that many of these shades are repeats from other palettes, particularly the Tropic palette, which I do own, and so I was able to pick those out, and I was like, oh, I know those shade names. Oh, jeez Louise. Let's see if I can hold this better. Anyways, I was like, I know those shade names, and it's because they were in another Natasha Denona palette. And so for me, it was just a little bit really. And then also just this combination of colors is not super duper easy to pair together. I mean, you can get some really creative looks, and I saw one look from a smaller YouTuber around the same size as my channel. He did a really beautiful look with these shadows, and I was like, oh, you just inspired me. So maybe I need to look up some more inspiration, and I haven't had this one that long, but for me it's just not that exciting because it's, shades I already owned, and also the combination of them reminds me of Easter. It's cute, but it's just not something every day for me that I want to wear. Coming in at number 8 is another palette I really, really like, and I also got this one in a BoxyCharm. This is the Reek palette, and I actually really like this palette. I haven't looked to see if there are repeat shades in this one, but I'm probably going to assume yes, seeing as it was in a BoxyCharm. But this one is a more warm tone, neutral eyeshadow quint, and again, once I got this in BoxyCharm, I was glad I didn't have to pay that $48 price. But for me, this one is just a little lackluster. I think it's Beautiful formula still. It's really pretty, but it's just not as great as some of her other palettes in my opinion. And it only has one shimmer in it, which is a kind of a bummer for me because I really love shimmers, especially Natasha's shimmers. They're pretty nice. And while this palette is really great, I use this, I travel with it to Puerto Rico. It's a great little travel palette. It just doesn't inspire me that much, and so I don't tend to reach for this one as much as some of my other Natasha Denona palettes. Now, it is a really, really beautiful palette, but again, it's kind of meh. It's kind of meh, you know? Coming in at number 7, is that right? 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, number 7. I can count, I promise. This is the Natasha Denona Mini Lila palette. Now, I always wanted to get the big Lila palette. It's one that I still kind of want to purchase, even though I've heard sometimes mixed reviews on that palette, but I do think generally it's well liked, and I really do love purples. But the Mini Lila palette was on sale for quite a long time at Sephora, and so one day I just took the plunge. I was like, I want to try Natasha Denona, I want to get into that luxury, but I still wasn't ready to dip into even $25 for a regular mini. So this one was on sale for half off for $12.50 at Sephora for such a long time, and I picked it up, and it was my first Natasha Denona palette, so it really propelled me into the brand, really. And I really do like this palette. I think it's a really nice, cute little moment. The shades in here work pretty well together. I don't know if it's like the best of her formula wise. I know a lot of people don't like this palette, and I would agree it's not her best formula, but for me it does give me a little bit more inspiration than maybe some of the palettes that have been below it. Well, then the 2 palettes that have been below it, because there's just a little bit more variety here. You can kind of do purple with the neutrals, or you can go neutral, very light. You can do a one pop color look with this. So I don't know, I just got a little more inspired with it, and I also didn't pay that much for it, so that also helped. I didn't pay too much for the other ones either. Coming in at number 6 is the Tropic palette. This is one I purchased also on sale. I think this was my first one of the big palettes. So this one would normally retail for $129, and it's one of the plastic casings, and inside of it is a beautiful, colorful tropical palette. It has like some neutrals in it, but it also has this row down at the bottom that's like your fun pops of color, and there's color throughout it, of course. And what I liked about this palette is, number 1, it was on sale. So it was on sale for like half off or something like that at Sephora when I purchased it, and I was like, okay, let's attempt to go into more of Natasha Denona. So I went ahead and got this one, my first big one from her. I do really like this palette. My first one actually came completely shattered, so I have most of the shades were shadowed. I was able to save a couple of shades. I popped them out, and I wrote Sephora. They sent me another one, no charge obviously, and then I had some single shades, so I have some singles of these shades. The thing with this one is that it's also, some of the shades are in that first palette that I showed you guys, so I have like double repeats of some of these shades. But anyways, enough talking. This palette is nice. I like it. It's cute. I get some great looks out of it. You can go neutral, you can go colorful. I don't think it's as inspiring for me, and also I think there's some of her palettes that have a little bit of a easier formula to work with than this one, but I actually really enjoy this palette. I think it's nice, and although I see and understand some people's criticisms of this palette, I do really think it's a nice one. I just wouldn't personally have bought that at full price, so I'm glad I got it on sale, and that's probably going to go for almost all these palettes because these are expensive. Guys, I just realized I have 10 Natasha Denona palettes, so my numbering has been wrong on this whole video. So this is number 6. The Tropic one was number 7. This one was number 8, 9, 10. Whatever. I'm not refilming. So coming in number 6 is actually going to be the Natasha Denona Sunrise palette. Wait, is that right? Do I want to put that at number 7? Let me rethink this. Hold on. I really like this palette. I think I'm going to switch. I think I'm going to put number 6 actually to be the Natasha Denona Zendo palette. This one is fairly new. This is actually the newest one from her that I own. She just came out with a new 5-pan, but this is the Zendo palette. I never had the mini Zendo. This palette looks like this. It came out not too long ago, and I hopped on it because I do really enjoy Natasha Denona's formula and her palettes. This palette has like some warmer tones, cooler tones, and I think that it's a really nice little palette. I think the formula in here is very nice. It's not as sparkly or popping as some of her other shades and some of her other palettes, which I don't mind. Sometimes you want a more subdued look, and for me this palette just really works really nicely. I love it. I love the packaging as well. I like this palette a lot, so that's why it's coming in at number 6. It's just that some other ones I like a little bit more. And then coming in at number 5, I switched these because when I started looking at this one again, this is the Sunrise palette. I know she has a Sunset palette as well. That one I'm not as interested in. I don't know. This one just speaks to me a little bit more. It's got some of those more berry shades, and it does lean more warm with those as well. Some peach shades in here. The shimmers in here are really, really pretty. Again, it's maybe not her best palette, but I think it's one that's just inspires me a little bit more than the ones that are below it. And I just think it's a really beautiful palette. Look how pretty it is. I do think it's really beautiful. So that's why this one's coming in at number 5. And again, pretty packaging. Coming in at number 4. Am I counting right now? Yes, you are. It's going to be this guy. This is the mini retro. I bought this one. I think this might have been my second Natasha. Yeah, I think this was my second Natasha Denona palette because I bought the mini Lila. Then I went with another mini when this one came out soon after I had bought that one. And here it is. It's a cool toned grayish pink. I like how those colors are mixed together, and that gray is almost like a gray green color. It's really an interesting and very unique color with the matching shimmer. The shimmers in here really sort of propelled me to want to try even more from Natasha Denona because these shimmers are the ones that kind of really got me on board for the Natasha Denona brand, even more than the mini Lila. Even though that was my first one, this one more so I liked a lot more than that one, which is why it came up so high. I think the color story is unique. I think the combination is beautiful, and I heard that there's some rumors that there might be a bigger sized retro palette, because she does that. Sometimes she'll do minis to the big palettes, and sometimes she'll do the mini first, and then sometimes she'll do the big one first. It just depends. But I would be super excited to hop on a palette with this color scheme with more shades. I would love to see what she comes up with, because Natasha, I mean, let's be honest, she comes up with really pretty color stories. She really does, and that's the reason why I'm excited to see what she comes out with. Let's move on. We're moving into the top 3, and then coming in at number 3 is the Circo Loco palette, or Circo Loco, and it is this one that had the kind of circusy theme. And oh, I'm making a mess now in my area here with all these palettes. And this one is the one that was super colorful, super vibrant, and for me, the reason this one is coming up so high at number 3 is just because it's fun, it's creative. It just inspires you to get the juices flowing and coming up with and trying to combine the colors in this palette. I know this is not going to be for everyone, but I really do love color on the eyes. I think that even though you might not be a blue eyeshadow person or a green eyeshadow person, if you just experiment with different tones and shades of those colors, you might find the green or the blue that works for you, or the red or the pink. You get what I'm saying? And so this just inspires me, and I just love it. I think it's beautiful. I think the colors in here are quite unique. Some of them, I don't know if I have another color like that in my collection. I might. I have a lot of palettes, but for me, it's just all in one palette. And even though sometimes it might be difficult to compare these colors, again, that inspiration to push you to kind of be more creative with looks, I really enjoyed this palette. Really, really do. And so that's why that one is at number 3. Now this one, I almost paid full price for it. I got it during a, I didn't. I got it during a Sephora VIB sale, and that's 20% off, which is a good amount off, but not as much. I think all the rest of the palettes I got for a even bigger discounts. I don't think I paid full price for any of these palettes except for maybe the Zendo, but that one is one of the midi size, so it's $65. I don't think I've mentioned that the Sunrise and Zendo have been midi size. Let's move on though. That's too much talking. I can just talk and talk and talk. I'm going to cut some of this out. This one coming in number 2 is the Love palette. Of course, I was going to have some pinks in the top 3, and this one has some of those pink and red tones as well as some purples. I love all of those colors on the eye. Those are my vibe, those are my jam, those are my top colors to wear, and this palette just has it in for you. I didn't buy this one upon release. I actually just purchased this one in like a bundle deal with the Sunrise palette when she had a sale on these several months ago, I want to say, or even, yeah, it was definitely this year, but like early this year she had a couple deals, and she's been having quite a few like sets and deals on her site as of recently. So if you're looking to, you know, save on some of these more expensive palettes, I would definitely say be on the lookout because she has been having sets and deals and stuff. And this one I just really like. I like the colors in here. I think these are just, this is the perfect combination of colors, and for me this is like this is like my palette. Like, this is the palette that I would love to have because it has those pinks, those purples, the shimmers in here are beautiful, the mattes are nice. It's just a really good palette and I enjoy it a lot. So what is my number one palette? Could you have guessed? It is this one. Yes, I do own the gold palette and I love this palette. I don't know, it's more of a neutral palette honestly, but it has some beautiful golds and greens. The shimmers in here are just to die for, and that's my favorite part of a palette are the shimmers. I love a good matte as well, but I almost always have a shimmer on my eye because I love a sparkly, shimmery, glittery shade. Metallic, shimmery, spark, give it all to me. Like, I love anything that's shiny on the eye, and this just gives it with the shimmers. I think they are the star, but the mattes are just as equally good as the shimmers. I'm not even one to wear golds a super like a lot even, but this palette just does it for me because these golds are just not like your typical golds. You do have some that are like kind of more true golds, but you just have some interesting flips in here, some like duochromes and just like sparkly beautiful shades, and it just is gorgeous. Like, as there's nothing else I can say about this. And I love that you have this combination of like the blues, the golds, like some greenness in there as well, and then the neutrals. And I just love this palette, which is saying something because I would have thought I would have put something more colorful as my number one, but the gold palette has, for me, honestly just been my number one, and it still is. So that is me ranking all of my Natasha Denona palettes, you guys. I hope you enjoyed this. I don't own, obviously, a lot of her palettes. I definitely need to get up on some, but I do have quite a few dupes of her palettes, which is why I haven't bought some of the other ones. Maybe I'll do a ranking of all my Natasha Denona dupes. That would be fun. I think that would be fun because I have quite a few from Alter Ego, some from C Color Cosmetics, or C Color, I think it's C Color Cosmetics. So that would be fun. Let me know if you guys would like me to do a ranking of my Natasha Denona dupes, because there's some other color stories by her that I really, really like, but I don't own them in her formula. I own them in dupes, and I haven't bought them in her formula because I already own the color story. There you go. I can say though, Natasha Denona's formula overall is really impeccable. She rarely, to me, has a lot of duds. I think most of the time she hits it out of the park. Here and there, sometimes she is like a little iffy, but I think overall that's why people still go to buy her palettes, because she does have a really nice formula. And so that's why it's one of my favorite brands at this point. So let me know, you guys, if you like this ranking, or if you agree with it, or maybe you completely disagree and you think my ranking was terrible. Let me know down below in the comment section, respectfully, of course. What would be your favorite Natasha Denona palette? Or what, if you own a large collection of Natasha Denona palettes, what would be your ranking? Let me know down below in the comment section. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you want to see more like this in the future, and I will check you guys out in the next video very, very soon. Stay safe. Adios.